America, it's time for the Ringside Wranglers Dirt Sheet. With your hosts, HAZ-BIN and Jack Jaw.
What's up, wrestling fans? I am Jack Jaw with the Ringside Wranglers, and that is HAZ-BIN, and we've got some dirt to talk about in pro wrestling. What's up, HAZ-BIN?
Well, let me tell you something, brother. I'm so happy to be here today. I can't do this. That's not who I am. I'm not from that era. I'm from the era of the George Hackenschmidts and the black and white stuff that you don't even know what the hell is being said or being done. So I'm doing great.
HAZ-BIN, Hackenschmidt. I've never heard of that before. We'll talk later about that one. This week on the dirt, we've got about 10 topics to talk about. We're going to talk about look who's a free agent, like it really matters, because I haven't heard nothing about it till this week. We've got an exclusive that's going to be going on Raw, exclusive Raw definition. We've got all red everything, possibly an evolution. We've got is two better than one. We've got WWE Tour possibly going to get modified post-pandemic. We've got Vince wanting to push somebody to the moon. We've got is someone running away with their tail between their legs. We'll get to that in a minute. Then we've got a cryptic video from none other than the Apex Predator, Randy Orton. Then we've got crazy stuff going on in the Thunderdome on those screens you see all over the place. Who's showing up there? What's showing up there? It's crazy. And then we've got a final story on Say It Isn't So. There's a breakup in pro wrestling. So let's go to the top. We're talking contract. We're talking free agent. Let the stories begin. Let them find out where is this person going. Right there, Brock Lesnar became a free agent on Monday, the 31st. What you think about that, HAZ-BIN? Like he's going anywhere.
I think he's going to go work for Impact.
What?
Yeah, he'll go work for Impact.
He would make more than the entire Impact roster. He is in the catbird seat. Vince will just let him sit out there, and when Vince needs him, he'll call him. When Brock needs some money, he'll call Vince, but Brock is going nowhere. That's kind of a joke. Even Chris Jericho was in the news this week calling it out as a joke. Everybody knows his contract is so far out there, so sweet that he's going nowhere. Any final thoughts on that one? What do you think? Is he going anywhere?
No.
No way. He's got it made. Next up, we got a Retribution update. We talked last week. There he is right there. Check him out right there. So that would be a good angle if he were to go back to UFC and fight John Jones. That was once rumored before, but who's to say? And then right there you go. You've got little Brody Lee, pitching a possible thing to AEW. But again, he ain't going to AEW. He's making way too much money in WWE. Vince is going to pay him more money than he'll make anywhere. No reason for him to go there. I can't have to wrestle week in and week out with AEW. But either way, he's not going there either. So on to the next one. What do we got next? We've got right there Retribution showing up again week after week. But we got word this week that they're finally going to make Retribution a Raw-only type storyline. So there you go. We're trying to figure out who is in Retribution. We read the articles. We hear crazy stories. It doesn't really matter. Who really cares at this point? You mentioned it last week that you thought this was kind of dumb. But we throw out there, we've been researching. We're trying to figure out who is going to ultimately show up in Retribution. We already got Roman Reigns as the leader, possibly. We've even heard stuff like Miz. I went out and found people dressed in black. You got Aleister Black, obviously in black. You got Ember Moon, obviously in black. You got Jinder Mahal. He's been sporting the black stuff too lately. Wade Barrett, who just showed up, maybe. He's part of it too. You don't know. How about this one? Kurt Angle. All in black. He shows up. He could be part of it. And then this one was teased this week in a couple articles. CM Punk. Because he's got some things that he's been saying about this one. And then the last one I found, check out this one. A blast from the past. He's coming back to be in Retribution. Disco Inferno. All you can do is shake your head. What's your take again on Retribution? What did you say last week? This has been there, done that.
No, it's great to have these factions like this. I mean, we talked about this last week, and for those who didn't watch this show last week, number one, shame on you. Never miss this show. And number two, I mean, we go back to the days of the Horsemen, the Freebirds, the Von Erichs, Scandal, Akbar, Devastation Incorporated. Remember, I am has-been. I got to go back 30, 40 years. I mean, all these things work for a while, but after a while, it's time to move on with stuff. And it's getting to the point now where this whole thing with this retribution stuff is like people are getting tired of it. They just go around and run roughshod like NWO did, like the Horsemen did back in the day, like DX did. But the retribution is not the Horsemen. They're not NWO. They're not DX. They're nowhere near that. Now, all those names of people you just said would be wonderful in a perfect world, but I'm afraid a lot of people will be disappointed because when these masks do come off, and at some point they will, they're probably going to be a lot of NXT people that are getting a big push, and that's how they're going to get their push. How's it going, Guy? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I don't know. It just seems to me that I don't see them having some surprise person underneath the hood. I could be wrong, but I think it's just in the classic case of disappointing and bait and switch like WCW did for years. It's probably just going to be an NXT person that's getting a huge push, like Ciampa or somebody.
Yeah, you're right. That would be weak. But you know what? Half the interest is just trying to figure out who's going to be in it and who could possibly show up.
That's the beauty of it. Remember how back in the day with WCW, I mean, the thing where they had the 83-week winning streak or 86 or whatever it was, is because every week you didn't know who was going to show up. Lex Luger showed up on that first one of the Mall of America, and every week was somebody new. The late Rick Rude, God bless him, he was on Nitro and Raw the same freaking night, man. And that's what was the beauty of it. So, again, half the fun is people on the internet trolling and other stuff, thinking that it could be anybody from Kenny Omega showing up or Hangman Page showing up or somebody, making jumping ship or vice versa, people going to AEW. But at the end of the day, it's going to be an NXT person that deserves to get a push, and that's how they're going to do it. And no disrespect to the NXT person, this is their big break, but if you want to see like a blast from the past coming back, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, no doubt. But either way, you'll see. It's kind of like it's all in. If they don't come up with a big bang to show up, then it really is going to be a letdown. Hopefully, Vince, since he's running this thing, he's making it up as he goes. He takes the advice of all of us and puts a big powerhouse to come back. Who could it be? We will have to see. Next up, we got an exclusive they teased recently in the last week or so. None other than Eva Marie. She's teased that she may be coming back. Don't know about that, but I think this is part of a bigger angle that it's about that time that they may be pushing an Evolution 2, that all women's pay-per-view. So we got to thinking about, who would we rather come back, either Eva Marie. I'm not sure about you, but I don't even remember her as a wrestler. I just remember her as a really good-looking woman in wrestling, but as far as wrestling, do you remember being a wrestling? No.
Well, if you remember, she and Mandy Rose were going to be this team, and it was going to be based off the Hulk Hogan thing with the red hair and the blonde hair, and that's kind of where it was going. And then all of a sudden, we saw Eva Marie on the Diva show with her boyfriend, who was a wrestler, and then all of a sudden she just disappeared. I know she was training really hard at NXT and Full Sail and all the independent groups that WWE had at the time, but it just didn't work out. I mean, I'm not saying she's not talented by any means. When you're dating or married or whatever the case may be to an independent wrestler, you're going to learn a lot. But it just didn't work out. And Mandy Rose, she gets with Sonya Deville, and they made gold. I know in storyline they don't like each other, but they're real life best friends, and that's why it works. So, man, it'd be great to see her back. I mean, a lot of people, she's a very, very attractive woman, and people like seeing all that. But in terms of like athletic skill with this women's revolution, with your Bayley and your Sasha Banks and your Charlotte Flair and your Queen of Spades, these ladies are kicking butt and taking names out there, and she would not really be an asset, so to speak. No pun intended.
Well, not part of this story. You did mention Charlotte Flair. One hindrance to doing the Evolution thing is it looks like Charlotte Flair may be a year out. That's what her dad's saying this week. So there you go. You've got Stephanie McMahon. She's the one that brought on the Evolution. Her and her husband pitched it the last time they did it. That was sweet when they did it. Look for it to happen again. But thinking of women wrestlers who we want back, this is one that left with a big bang. She's gone with her husband. Hopefully she comes back. What you think about AJ Lee possibly coming back?
The one thing a lot of people now in the know, the smarts, they know that she is in reality married to Phil Brooks, aka CM Punk. But what a lot of people may not realize is she's actually in the best shape of her life right now. She was in pretty good shape back in the day when she did this stuff with Daniel Bryan and Punk and Kane and all. But from what I've seen, some pictures that her husband CM Punk has released on his Twitter account, things of that sort, she's in a hell of a lot better shape than she's ever been. So I think it would be nothing for her to come back in. She wouldn't miss a beat. And if she did come back, I think it would do wonders for CM Punk to come back as well. So if anybody really wants to see CM Punk back, and I'm one of them, having AJ Lee come back as a package deal, man, that would be gold.
That would be sweet. Well, next up, we'll be looking for that Evolution if that actually comes off. Look for that late in 2020 if they pull that pay-per-view off. Next up, we got a story. Is two better than one? AEW is teasing that they may do a second weekly show. What's your take on that one?
Absolutely need it. Remember when WCW was rolling, you had Nitro, you had Thunder. AEW, I know they have the Dark, but that's kind of like NXT was on the WWE Network before they got the package deal with USA Network. The Dark thing is fine, but I think AEW, in my opinion, I'm a huge fan. I really, when the company first started, I really wouldn't drink the Kool-Aid, but then after I watched a couple of shows, I just bit it, the hook, line, and sinker bit to the bait. And I love AEW. I love it more than WWE. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really do. And at this point right now, I see it. I've been preaching as the poster child, unofficial, for the past several weeks on this podcast, that AEW is going to be the new WCW to me. And when Nitro took off like a fire, they had to end up getting Thunder. And I really believe that Tony Khan and the group, they need to get another show, and they need to get it off of the Dark on the YouTube and whatever the case be. They need to put it on TNT, and they need to have another show. And I know you're going to talk about this. I don't mean to try and jump the gun, but I think it's a good segue, if you will. WWE's considering wanting to get off of Wednesday nights with NXT because they come up with some lame ass excuse. But the bottom line is, AEW's whipping their rear end. I'm just calling it like I see it.
Yep. So you're saying it's not too much of a good thing if they have a second show?
No, I think it'd be great if they had a second show.
Right,
I encourage them to have a second show. I think it'd be great.
Do they have enough talent to push two shows?
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that you're not seeing on AEW now because of the pandemic. I mean, you got Pac, Neville, whoever. They keep showing his face on the opening credits. I haven't seen Pac Neville in God knows how long. And you got a lot of other people that are working. They're working behind the scenes with New Japan. They got an association. That's why Kenny Omega was the champion in Japan. They had those two belts for a while. And they got a huge relationship with New Japan with Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan and things of that sort. So absolutely, they have enough talent. And you know what? And I know there's a lot of people that are free agents from WWE and they got cut, reduction of force or whatever excuse they have, and they're looking for work right now. And you end up getting another AEW show. Now you can start bringing in your Aiden English and all these guys that are sitting around waiting to do stuff. If they don't want to go to Impact, they go straight to AEW because now you have an extra show. And I know they got the revenue to do it. I mean, Tony Khan is just like Ted Turner, his deep pockets. And that's why I think that AEW and WCW are so much alike, man, because you had Eric Bischoff, who was the brains behind it, which is Cody Rhodes. And then you had Ted Turner with deep pockets, which is Tony Khan. And then you got a relationship with the Jacksonville Jaguars NFL football team. So you get some NFL money coming in. You're doing that show in Daly's Place, which is the facility right outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium. It's outdoors, which is safe for the pandemic. They're getting real fans in there now with the social distancing. It's wonderful. And I mean, I'm looking forward to having another show. It'd be great. It'd be a resurrection of the years past when you had Nitro and Thunder. You'll be going back pretty soon to watch the wrestling. Remember back in the day, you could watch wrestling every day of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It was always on. And I'm afraid, well, I'm not afraid. I'm fortunately would be glad if we get back to that point again.
Well, there you got it. Has been given the blessing to AEW to do it. His vote, do it. Next up, you got WWE talking what's going to happen post-pandemic with those WWE Live, the house shows, as we like to call them. Word has it that they're realizing how little bit of money that they made doing those house shows, and the more money is now in TV contracts. So it looks like they may possibly be cutting back on the house shows as we like to refer to them. There's an old shot from not too much before the pandemic where you had empty seats in some of those things. They're traveling around. Those wrestlers don't like working so many dates. So look for the WWE post-pandemic to cut back on some of those house shows. What do you think of that one?
Man, as you was talking, I was thinking back when you and I, we go back a long, long way, you know, and we've gone to shows in the River Center and the Centroplex and things of that sort. And I can remember when WCW was there right before they were killed. The River Center Centroplex is a 3-deck arena. And I can remember times whenever you had a live Nitro or a live Thunder or whatever the case may be with television, lots of times Thunder, because Baton Rouge wasn't good enough to have a Nitro show. That was either Lafayette or New Orleans. You know, we got the third Thunder show. And on the Thunder show, the whole 300 level deck was topped off. Half the 200 deck was topped off. And you only had fans being shown in the 100 level risers ringside and half the 200 level. And now WWE rather started to do that now. They can blame the pandemic all they want, and maybe that has a little bit to do with it. But at the end of the day, you can't put all of your eggs in one basket. And even though the pandemic probably has a lot to do with it, AEW is hurting as well. But at some point, man, when the product starts to get stale, like when you have a certain faction that comes out every week and takes chainsaws and cuts ring ropes, and they've been doing it over and over and over again with no end in sight, people start to yawn. People start yawning. See, dogs start barking. People start yawning. They get tired of it. Can't blame them.
That's it. But either way, you know, another thing that could be hurting them too is if they got to have a good TV product to push those house shows. So when the TV product is weak, people aren't going to show up for those house shows. So it's best to put all your eggs in those TV dollars and work hard on doing that instead of having, because they were having shows every night. They would have local shows booked on a Monday Night Raw night where you would miss Raw to go to a house show. Remember those days?
Oh yeah, man. We again, being the has-been gimmick, we'll go back to Sportatorium in Dallas. They would have shows at Reunion Arena and all the big events in Dallas, and they would probably be a quarter full, and the little bitty rinky-dink arena in Dallas, the Sportatorium, God bless it, they tried to make it a state landmark, which it should have been before it got torn down. They would sell that place out. I remember Independence Hall back in the day here in Baton Rouge would get sold out. You're right, though. You're right, Jack. Whenever you have a strong product, you don't need to advertise nothing, man. The product sells itself. And you're absolutely right. There were numerous times that these big arenas for television shows were only half full because people, and ECW is a classic example, man. ECW Arena in Philly, that place would have the fire marshal threaten to shut it down, and right up the street in the Spectrum or whatever they would call the arena now, probably be 20% full. But the freaking ACW Arena was completely filled to the rafters, fire marshal about to shut it down as a safety hazard, and they still got another 100 people trying to get in. And they didn't. And Paul Henry didn't need to advertise that. Yep. It advertised itself with good television. How many times we stayed? How many times we stayed up 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on Fridays and Saturdays just to watch the ECW product back in the day because they would only put it on in the graveyard shift time. Oh yeah. How many times you did that?
All the time.
Yeah.
You know what else that means? That means independent wrestling could be getting hotter because that may be the only option you have to go watch live wrestling. Who knows?
Well, with that being said, if you talk about the guys that are in NXT right now, Finn Balor actually mentioned that now that he's back in NXT in the ring, I read something that he had posted. He did an interview, I think, on CBSSportsline.com, if I'm not mistaken. If not, I apologize. But I think it was CBS Sportsline. But he did an interview where he said that now that he's in NXT, he's having to learn how to wrestle as an independent wrestler again. In other words, the style and the way that they expect you to perform on SmackDown and on Raw, that doesn't fly in NXT. NXT is like NXT is a glorified independent organization. And I mean that not with disrespect, but as it's carved out its own identity. It's a strong independent organization. I can't believe I'm saying this, and I don't think it would ever happen. I think people like Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Dean Ambrose, or John Moxley. I think those guys would thrive in the way NXT is right now. And I can only hope that AEW gets that independent style like that, because that's where, selfishly, I would like to see those people go work for AEW, because they're not working for Vince McMahon. They're giving, and again, I don't mean any disrespect in saying that. I'm saying, as has been, I want to go back to the days of old when there's competition, because just like Eric Bischoff said, competition creates controversy. Controversy creates cash, and when everybody is out there with competition, there's no more lethargic attitudes. There's no more complacency. Wrestling is fun again.
Again. And you said you don't mean to be any disrespect. We are the Ringside Wranglers. We're out to disrespect everybody if they need to be disrespected. So let's disrespect them.
No, you slinging dirt, brother. We're slinging dirt.
Right.
But when dirt gets caught with water, it becomes mud.
That's right.
And mud spelled backwards is dumb.
Vince is pushing somebody to the moon. What do you think, Keith Lee? Keith Lee's getting a big old push right now. He comes in 1 week after being on the Raw roster. He takes out a legend killer. Is he the legend killer? Randy Orton beats him at Payback. Now he's in line. Well, he was in line last week in a 3-way to fight for the title, but Randy gets the win there. Keith Lee is getting a mega push from Vince. Who knows? Orton obviously did us justice by, letting Keith Lee get the big push. Randy Orton probably wrestling the best of his career right now. Word has it that he's looking to push more NXT stars. He's good for the business. I like Keith Lee. I like the push he's getting. I like that Vince is behind him. The dude is a beast. He's big. He's flying. He's awesome. What do you think about Keith Lee?
Well, when I first saw him, he reminded me so much of a former coworker that I used to be with, is no longer with us at the job site I'm at, crane operator. His name was Richard Smith. And but I won't mention the name to you, because every time I've been seeing Keith Lee for the past 2 or 3 weeks, this name keeps coming in my head, and I want to make sure I'm not as crazy as I think I am and other people think I am. I won't mention the name to you when I think of Keith Lee, right? Tell me what you think. Ready?
Yes, go.
Mark Henry.
Oh, yeah.
He's got that thick girth like Mark Henry. He's got that size like Mark Henry. He's got that athleticism like Mark Henry. He does that flying lariat kind of forward body block where people sell it and fly 500 feet out the ring. He reminds me so much of Mark Henry. And we saw what Mark Henry did, right? Yeah. He won numerous championships. He invented the Hall of Pain, and he's a WWE Hall of Famer. And if Keith Lee keeps up going like he is with his potential and his talent, he'll be there one day too.
Yep.
WWE's in good hands having people like Keith Lee and this guy Ciampa whenever he decides to make his move over, and Adam Cole and folks like that. They're in really good hands having those people to someday come over and take the reins with the company.
Yep. Gotcha. Next up on our dirt list, we've got USA Network. I don't know if they're asking WWE to do it or what. It looks like the Wednesday night wars, Wednesday night battles may be over before they started. I know you didn't ever like the war or whatever, but it looks like NXT may possibly be moving to another night. Tail between your legs, run back home, because AEW is whipping your butt. What you think?
I said this several weeks ago on one of our programs, and I'm going to say it again because it's exactly how I feel. I don't think AEW is at war with NXT. I think AEW is a superior product to NXT. I think AEW is the resurrection of WCW. So I'm going to say right now, I don't care what people think. They can call me crazy. Call me what you want. Just call me, brother. Just call me. The bottom line is I think AEW right now is at war with Raw and with SmackDown. I think they're that good. Either they're that good or Raw and SmackDown has gone down that much. Take your pick.
That guy right there just got word that they're moving to another night because they're less than. He's going, what? Either way, I'm happy because, like you said, now we got more nights to watch wrestling. Either way, I like it. How you like that old shot right there? Cody Rhodes, the mastermind, it looks like, of AEW. Then you got Triple H, mastermind of NXT. I like that shot, but it looks like Cody Rhodes is getting the upper hand right now for sure.
No, I can tell you, you're looking at two people right there, and that's kind of looking like that's like the Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. You got two people that are with presidents of their respective monster nations, not monster countries, and they have their own strengths, their own weaknesses. Triple H obviously is a lot more athletic, much more better gifted athlete, better physical conditioning, things of that sort. He's got McMahon's money. He's married to the McMahon family. But then on the left-hand side of the screen, as I look at it, you got a guy he's a second-generation superstar. His brother and his father were in it. His wife's in it. He's a mastermind. He's a genius. And he's got the business sense of it. He's always had it because his father taught it to him from birth. I'm a second-generation drummer. Might not be as good as everyone thinks that I am. I'm better. I'm not as good as I would like to be. But it came from birth. It was blood-born given. A good blood-born given. Not a blood-born pathogen. And in Cody's case, his brother's got it. He's got it. His wife's got it. And it all came from his father.
Yep. Good point. But either way, AEW is on the rise. NXT moving on out. Can't take the heat. They're getting out of the kitchen. Next up, Randy Orton this week sends out a little cryptic video via Twitter. Little rattling snake. His word was, "It's finally happening. Take your guess." So I had a couple little guesses. Word has it that it looks like he may be returning to his old music, which I don't. I like his current music of "I hear voices in my head" so much better than his old stuff. That's one guess. The other guess is when he says it's finally happening, he's going to finally win a championship to be number 15, I guess it would be, to take over the Nature Boy Ric Flair. What do you think it could possibly be?
I don't really care for his newer music. I liked a lot of the older stuff he did when he first started. He had a lot of rock bands, did some songs for him I thought were really cool. And he needs to change up the entrance because those flashing lights, man, I could just see people having seizures and migraine headaches and stuff because that stuff's not cool. I played music for a long, long time, many years with all the flashing strobe lights and all. And I mean, and people have I've had people in the crowd come tell us that they kind of bother them because some folks actually are sensitive to that with their eyes, and they end up getting almost borderline seizures from that stuff. So I never was really a fan of all that strobe light flashes stuff. I can see Randy Orton having a lot more aggressive music. He's had a lot more in the past, and I think that now that he's getting toward the end of his career, I'll say it, he's probably getting toward the end of his career. It's time for the Viper. It's time for the most dangerous man in the business, RKO. It's time for him to put a title around his waist at least one more time.
Yep. So that's
he's overdue.
When he's teasing, it's finally happening.
He's well overdue. He's got bad shoulders. There's no secret about that. He's not a spring chicken anymore. I mean, he's still got a long way to go. He's got a lot of tank because he's athletically gifted, phenomenal athlete, third-generation superstar. He deserves, because he's earned the right to go out. And I do believe he needs to get a nice little overhaul, new music, new attitude, put that belt around his waist one more time, and then put a ring on his finger and put him in the Hall of Fame.
Hey, Punk, go back a couple shots where he's pounding on the mat. Punk, producer Punk, go back to there. You go right there. That's what you're getting old. Remember when he hurt himself pounding on the mat like that?
Yeah.
He, like jammed his arm or something. That's when you're getting old. It's just like he was getting way too into it. I like the whole rattlesnake, apex predator, that whole angle to him. Voices in my head, that song, to me it matches, because the way he's punting everybody in the head, he's got these voices that are making him do that kind of stuff. So I think it matches. So I'm with you. I'm thinking when he says what's happening, what's finally happening, I think you're right. He's going to win the belt come Clash of Champions. Wouldn't surprise me. But either way,
he's always been put in the back burner. All these other guys are being pushed and all, and that's the whole reason why he put Keith Lee over at the pay-per-view and on Raw. Put him over, and because a lot of people say, "Oh, Randy Orton don't put anybody over. He's a selfish SOB." Blah, blah, blah. So Randy Orton said, "You know what? I'm gonna prove all you guys that you're full of you know what. I'm gonna put over Keith Lee. I'm gonna do it at the pay-per-view, and I'm gonna do it 24 hours later on Raw, just to show you that yes, I can put over people. But when I do put people over, it's got to be somebody who I think deserves to be put over." And that's why he felt Keith Lee was like that. And I think that was a great move on his part, classy move on his part. And I believe he needs to be rewarded for that by having that towel around his waist at least one more time.
Yep. All right, next up, who is a big fan of the new Thunderdome WWE is pitching? I like it. It definitely has a closer feel to real fans. All those LED screens. I like it. It's better than the Performance Center. It seems like you've got some interaction, even if it's faux interaction. But we found some funny pictures that are showing up in that thing. I thought at one time they were going to actually push the angle that you could actually buy a slot to sit yourself there. That would be pretty cool if they could do that. Like you saw the screenshot of what your view was. How cool would that be? But either way, this week it looks like somebody showed up or took a screenshot. You're thinking it's Photoshop, but right there, Kenny Omega looks like he visited the Thunderdome this week, watching the show live. Got a couple other little funny things you're seeing out there. Even got some crazy stuff right there. You got a guy sleeping, which, hey, that's not a good indication of what the show quality is. You got a teddy bear. Vince is not impressing anybody. I think there's another one out here. You got this one where you've got a whole bunch of the same guy in the same shot. So it looks like programming in the back when they put out what was going to be on each screen didn't do their homework. They put the same shot in 4 different cameras. So it is getting kind of funny. I think it would be cool, though, if they had those where you could actually buy a seat that was your view from that screen. That would be pretty cool. Either way.
I also heard that someone had on a Grandmaster Ku Klux Klan hat, and that person has been banned from ever redoing the computer stuff ever again.
Yeah, I saw that too. Crazy. That dude right there in the middle of the screen right there, he shows up several times on multiple screens. The guy in the red right there,
yeah,
that guy shows up all over the place. So look.
That's not the hat guy from ECW. That dude used to be at every single show in ECW and WCW.
Yeah,
front row. In fact, he was there so many times they put him on the other side against. He would always get tickets where he was right there on the camera side, hard camera side. They made him move to the non-camera side because he was always there every week. People got tired of seeing the dude.
Yep. All right. Well, next up, last on the Dirt Report this week, last on the Dirt Sheet, we got some bad news. We've got a breakup in pro wrestling. And this was one of my favorite tag teams, the females, the Iconics. They've finally broken them up. Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, moving on to the singles competition. Everybody's been saying Peyton Royce has been stepping up. She is going to be prime time on her own now. So I'm kind of stoked about it. They've been friends for a long time. They're still friends. But, hey, Billie Kay is not leaving the company. Peyton Royce is going to get her singles push. I like it. I wish they were staying together. I wish they could say that. There they are. They're upset. They were told, you're moving on, breaking up. Breaking up is hard to do. But there she is. Look for Peyton Royce to be a challenger soon for one of the belts, maybe SmackDown, maybe the Raw belts, who knows. But their days as a tag team are somewhat over. What's your take on that one?
Yeah. Midnight Rockers, the Rockers, Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels, they were there for so long. They broke them up. Shawn Michaels becomes HBK, Mr. WrestleMania. The rest is history. I've been reading about this Peyton Royce thing for several weeks. They're very high on her because of the fact that she's in a relationship, either married or engaged to Perfect 10, Tully Blanchard's boy with AEW. That's a real life situation there. So, and of course she's got a very sexy physique. She's extremely athletic. She's doing very well for herself. She's starting to learn some submission stuff again. Being in a relationship with a real life tough wrestler, Perfect 10 with AEW with Tully Blanchard's group helps a lot. I kind of heard about this for a while. I was waiting to see exactly how they were going to do it. I do feel bad for Billie Kay, but I think that Peyton Royce is the shining jewel, just like your Shawn Michaels and your Marty Jannetty with the Rockers. At least they didn't have him get thrown through a plate glass window in Piper's Pit. You know, at least they didn't do that. At least they. But although Peyton Royce did kind of feed Billie Kay to the wolves in that underground deal, so they still had a little fun with it.
Yeah.
But I think Peyton Royce is ready. I think that they put her in the oven long enough, and she's hot now and ready to make it happen.
Put her in the oven. That's spooky. Either way, that does it. That does it this week. But this Saturday, we've got the AEW pay-per-view. Me and HAZ-BIN getting together to watch it. Look for us to put some messages out there. What's happening. We may even chime in with a little live feed of our reaction to what's going on. I'm most excited about the MJF versus Moxley for the belt.
Yeah, I want to see Renee Young show up and slap MJF in his face.
No, that could. Well, she's probably under still no non-compete clause, but and that'll be probably some more dirt we have in the coming weeks if and when she's going to show up, where she's going to show up. That's going to be good. But we're looking forward to the pay-per-view this week. Any final comments, HAZ-BIN?
I'm very much looking forward to the pay-per-view this weekend.
On BR Live. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. I'm Jack Dell. That has been. We are the Ringside Wranglers, and this has been the Dirt Sheet. Thank you, Producer Punk. See you next time.